This is WNUT Talk on the WNUT Radio Network. You are listening to WNUT Talk. I am Brandon, a.k.a. Stoney, and I've got something lined up for you today I think you're going to like. But before we get into that, hey, you might be listening on Live 365, where we stream WNUT all day long, and this show actually premieres for the first time. If you're not listening there, hopefully you know where to get us on all of your favorite podcast networks, from Spotify to Apple to YouTube, and about 20 other ones that we stream on. But hey, like I said, if you're listening to us on podcast networks right now, check out Live 365. You can do that at live365.com or the free Live 365 app, and all you got to do is just search WNUT, and we come right up, and you can listen to us all day long. Just we can be your companions. Stream us till your heart's content, and we'll follow you everywhere. I always sign off of this show saying, join us next time when our topic will be, who the hell knows, because I never do. I've known what the topic was for a little bit for this week as well as last week. I know I said that last week. Don't worry, this is not becoming a thing. I'm still never going to know what in the hell our next topic is. But my buddy Paul from Connecticut is here today. How are you, sir?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. He stopped in today at my request because, we were hanging out listening to some performers a few weeks ago at one of the pubs here in sunny Connecticut. Beautiful, warm Connecticut.
Sunny.
Yeah, in fall in New England. And we were talking about some of the classic metal bands, like your Sabbaths and your Deep Purples and your Rainbows and that kind of thing. And I was kind of pointing out that I had noticed over the years that a lot of these bands, I think I put it that they're kind of incestuous. There's a lot of shared members when you look at like Sabbath and especially Ritchie Blackmore's bands. Mm-hmm. Like they've shared a lot of members. You pointed out that for most bands of that era, you can tie some of these groups to just about any like heavy metal or hard rock act that I wanted to throw at you. Yep. So I started doing that. And you blew me away every single time I came up. There's no way he's going to be able to tie this one into whatever the fuck. And I think we were using Whitesnake at that time. You had said, I can tie any band you throw at me to Whitesnake and just a few members. And sure enough, we played 6 Degrees of Whitesnake at that point.
Yes, we did.
And you fucking knocked me out. I said, we've got to do this on the show.
That's because Whitesnake, that's because David Coverdale is the Jesus Christ of 80s metal.
Okay, so I'll give it up for David Coverdale. I was never. I'll go ahead and put my confession out there. If you'll hear my confession, I was never a Whitesnake fan because back then I was down on how so many of the popular songs, when they started, it sounded like you were listening to a Michael Bolton song. Look at Here I Go Again.
Yep.
And then it rocks out in the chorus. Yep. And then it goes back to sounding like a Michael Bolton song. And there's several of them that do that.
He always had a knack of doing that.
Yeah, and it's just that era, but that never sat well with me. And I always talked shit about Whitesnake. And my friends were always like, you're insane. And I'm like, no, I don't think I am. Let's ignore the fact that we played a Michael Bolton song on the show several months back that had, I think it was Bruce Kulick on guitar. Yeah. So, we'll just pretend I didn't do that. But that was why I didn't like Whitesnake. I have come to appreciate them a lot more, especially hearing like different vocalists that have played with them over the years. I've got a CD by M3 where Tony Martin plays with Moody, Murray, and I guess Marsden, Moody, and Murray. And,
all Whitesnake members,
yeah, and it's Tony Martin, so that's technically M4.
Yeah,
but Tony Martin was another Black Sabbath singer.
And Tony Martin was a Black Sabbath singer,
proving my point again that we're sharing a lot of members among some of these early metal and like early '70s hard rock bands. So we're going to get into that in a little bit today, and but we're not going to hit you with it right up front. I was just talking about the early 70s and kind of the era of Sabbath and some of these groups, Scorpions and that kind of thing. And a lot of people like to discuss and debate and argue, when did heavy metal actually begin? What's the dividing line? When did heavy metal arrive on the scene? A lot of people have opinions. A lot of these opinions do not match.
Right.
What say you, sir?
Well, I mean, I don't think it was called heavy metal when Black Sabbath was starting.
Right. Like they didn't come out of the gate and introduce,
this is called heavy metal. No,
here's a new sound we have.
Right. But I always thought that Black Sabbath started the whole thing. I think Black Sabbath made rock darker.
Right. Something clicked there.
Right. Right.
Now, Carl did an episode of WNUT After Dark last month that went all the way back to he was doing an episode that kind of educates you about the different genres of metal. Mm-hmm. And in discussing the roots of metal, he went all the way back to the Who in 1965. He's not saying that's the beginning of metal, but he did point out the Who as part of the roots and kind of what became metal. Zeppelin is one that people talk about.
I would think Zeppelin would be a root of metal. I wouldn't call them metal, but I think
Deep Purple people talk about a lot.
You had that 4-piece with the long hair and the screaming vocalist and the distorted guitars. So that could have been the root. But I think that to me it's Black Sabbath when they tried scaring the shit out of you with music. And like, it just kind of got darker.
Zeppelin had a lot of not just the sonic elements, but a lot of the visual elements.
Right.
Kind of that theatrical sort of look and, the hair and everything going, which would become a big deal later on. But at this time, as this genre is kind of like forming and it's in its infancy and it's finding its sea legs, I think a lot of elements of what Led Zeppelin were did go into metal. Right. I've never given Zeppelin that label. I don't put heavy metal on them. I don't say if you want to listen to metal, listen to where it started, go to Led Zeppelin. But I do recommend people listen to Zeppelin. Because that is one of one of the forefathers, but I don't think that's the first metal.
I think the term heavy metal came from Born to Be Wild.
That's right. Heavy Metal Thunder. Yeah, Steppenwolf.
So I don't know if heavy metal was used. I don't even know if that term was used before that song came out.
Yeah, which I think was about
72,
68, I would say. I thought, because I know Steppenwolf, something from, I think the pusher from that same album was in Easy Rider, and that was 69. So I think that album was 68.
Okay.
Deep Purple was active as early as 68. That's another one that people talk about. Blackmore and just some of the shit that band was able to do in ways they were able to evolve rock. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Sabbath was the first one to really take all the elements that had come in these late 60s years.
They seem to be the influence on like what became our heavy metal.
Yeah, hard rock had been kind of edging extreme for a while there.
Right.
And Ozzy and Iommi and Ward and Butler took all that and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. We're gonna go a little darker, a little more extreme. We're going to go a little heavier.
I mean, they started bluesy. They were a bluesy band.
Yeah, so was Zeppelin.
But they were like, I think I have a video of them in the early days doing like blue suede shoes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean they cranked it up a little, but they were doing blue suede shoes and stuff like that, and I was like, oh my god, that's
interesting.
Ozzy,
Interesting you say that, and this is a side note that has nothing to do with the discussion immediately at hand. But I was just listening to Danzig, and I was going back to his first, Danzig's first 3 or 4 albums are I love them. Right. I think that they're great, and then he kind of goes into La La Land after that. He did about 5 years ago the last album that he put out, a studio album of Elvis covers, and I was like, Danzig of all people. But then it made sense. As I went back and listened to his vocal style, especially on those early Danzig albums, and the Rick Rubin ones, I was like, wow, okay, I can hear it now. And I never connected that, but yeah, a lot of these guys who were active, and Danzig was not active that early, but a lot of these guys who were
that far back,
like the 70s and 80s group, did still love Elvis a lot, and a lot of bluesier groups and a lot of like rockabilly type stuff. So all of these influences are kind of melding together.
Right.
But I think Sabbath might have been the first ones to take it to that sort of not evil, but you know what I'm saying. They're
dark.
They're doing like dark mythology. They're drawing from the Bible. They're drawing from Revelation. They're talking about the devil, and they're talking about the forces of good and evil. Right. And that's a very heavy theme in this stuff. Sure. And so I wrote down here in my notes, I said, for me, it's February 13th, 1970. That's when they released the Black Sabbath self-titled, the first album.
Okay.
Technically, you could say it was born on October 16th of 69 because they recorded that album that day. Okay. All in one fucking day. Can you believe that shit?
Yeah. Yeah. And that cost them like $1,000 to make the whole album.
I'm sure it did. Yeah. It's like we look at, Nirvana and we're like, how did you record Bleach with $600? And, bands have been stretching their money for decades and decades, generations now. Right. And, just if you get a chance and you get in the studio, you're going to make it go as far as you possibly fucking can. Right. So I think we've solved that riddle. I think we know now. And WNUT Talk we've put it down, and now we're the historians. Nobody else can come along and say it was any other band.
It's Black Sabbath.
Paul from Connecticut and your boy Stoney here. We have handled this very elusive debate for you right now on WNUT Talk. What we're going to do right now is we're going to do some 6 degrees of separation, you might say. I'm calling it 6 degrees of classic metal. And this is something that, if you weren't with us at the beginning of the show, I was hanging out with Paul a few, probably last month or the month before. We were hanging out listening to a performer here at one of the pubs in beautiful, warm, sunny, toasty New England. And we were just talking about some of these things that you've heard us, discussing here with our expansive encyclopedic knowledge of hard rock and heavy metal. And I noticed that when you look at Black Sabbath, right, and you look at some of the other bands that orbited Black Sabbath, Ritchie Blackmore's groups, both Deep Purple and Rainbow,
yeah.
Whitesnake was one that you brought up. These bands shared a lot of members over the years. And I have often described that as very incestuous, that Iommi and Blackmore especially had this kind of incestuous band relationship with one another. And I jotted down some notes here. When you look at Deep Purple, Ian Gillan, Glenn Hughes, Don Airey, they all performed in Black Sabbath. When you look at Rainbow, Cozy Powell, Jimmy Bain, Bobby Rondinelli, also Don Airey.
Yep.
So we're talking about groups that all these bands would share these members among one another. Then these bands would go off to form other groups, and they'd work with, there was so much of the family that you would see resurface from album to album. And you start to realize how expansive the family tree is from a Black Sabbath or from a Deep Purple. And I'm not talking about bands that are influenced or inspired by.
They're they literally play with each other. Yeah,
because we all saw these family tree graphics, like around the time of Back to the Beginning, when Black Sabbath had that one final concert last summer. A lot of these graphics, you'd see them on social media and you'd see them online. People talking about how many of these bands, were influenced by and how they were tying it all back to Sabbath. They didn't put it officially down in the record like we just did. They just were demonstrating, And that's great. That's valid, and that's a great rabbit hole to go down. But right now we're talking about just the actual, when you break down the members and you see how many of them kind of cross-pollinate with these other groups. So we could do this with a few different bands. Now, you and I were doing Whitesnake before.
Yep.
We still absolutely can do that, because if that's what you... If you are,
that always seems to be the root.
Yeah, but I've got Sabbath jotted down here. I've got Rainbow jotted down here. If you're more familiar with kind of the members of Whitesnake and how they kind of jut off, then we'll definitely do that. Okay. But to demonstrate, I'm going to just throw a couple of these names out there.
Okay.
And we're just going to do some a brief demonstration for the folks listening.
Yeah.
Before I really start throwing some crazy ones at you. So Whitesnake and Black Sabbath, let's do a simple one.
Right, Whitesnake and Black Sabbath, I mean, they share members.
Right.
Glenn Hughes played with Coverdale, and he sang on Black Sabbath.
Yeah. He did 3 albums with Iommi. The first one was technically a Sabbath album, so you're absolutely right. The label made them call it Sabbath.
And then he did Deep Purple with Coverdale. He did 3 albums with Coverdale.
He was one of 2 singers from Deep Purple that went on to...
I mean, you just showed that M3 CD that just tied them all together
so
right
Tony
then
Martin,
and there.
Yeah,
Tony Martin played with these 3 guys.
Yep. So that's Black Sabbath. What about UFO?
Well, UFO had Michael Schenker. So he played in Scorpions.
With his brother Rudy.
With his brother Rudy and Klaus, and
back around the Taken by Force era.
But you can bring that all the way forward, and even though he didn't play with him, he played with the guys that played with James Kotek. He was the drummer for a long time. And he's played in Kingdom Come, which I don't think have too many shared members, but he played in Warrant. Oh, well, Warrant right now has Robbie Crane playing bass. Robbie Crane played in Vince Neil's band. Vince Neil was in Motley Crue.
Right.
Motley Crue had... Oh, yeah, there it is. Motley Crue just had... Did you hear the light bulb?
Yes.
Come on. Motley Crue had John Corabi sing for them, and John Corabi is in the Dead Daisies right now with, and you could just take your pick, Doug Aldrich, Brian Tichy, Marco Mendoza, all played in Whitesnake.
Okay, so I am of the opinion that the self-titled Motley Crue album with John Corabi on vocals was handed down to them by the metal gods. I feel like that album is
such a great album.
It's just underappreciated, and it needs to be loved and respected more.
The only problem with that album that people have, and if that band was called Christmas, instead of Motley Crue, people would have been like, this is one of the greatest metal albums
Call it
of all
anything
time.
on the planet. But they were comparing it so much to Dr. Feelgood and Theater of Pain, and you just can't do that, man. It was a different vibe, but it was such a great vibe.
That was a great album.
And Vince Neil went off and put, he went off and put out...
his solo album was amazing, that one that came out at the same time, Exposed.
Yeah, it had You're Invited But Your Friends Can't Come.
Yep.
Featured in the blockbuster mega success
with
Encino
Steve
Man.
Stevens on guitar.
So what I wasn't doing, I wasn't keeping track of like how many degrees that was.
I don't know how many degrees that was. Sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's a little bit more.
We probably were just at or under 6. I want to say that was 5 or 6.
Yep.
I'm going to give you one kind of out of left field right now.
Okay.
Because this band, while it has had some shifts in the lineup, has pretty much been consistent since they formed in about 78 or 9.
Okay.
Let's see if we can do this with Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden. Yes.
Okay, go. Not the band, okay, go. Okay, go with Iron Maiden.
All right, so Iron Maiden's got, what's his name? Adrian Smith.
Yeah.
And Adrian Smith, now we can go one way or another with Adrian Smith. Adrian Smith was in a band called Girl with Phil Collen.
Got it.
Phil Collen was in Girl with...
Phil Collen was in another band that's on my list here, so I think I know how that's going to go.
He was in a band with the lead singer of LA Guns, Phil Lewis.
Oh, okay.
Phil Lewis played with Tracy Guns. Tracy Guns played
That's
with...
the only member of LA Guns I was going to be able to...
Tracy Guns played with Nikki Sixx and Brides of Destruction, and we go through that with Motley Crue.
Yeah. Now we're back on Motley
with
Crue and
John Corabi to Dead Daisies.
And we pick up the lineage. So you see, I thought that was going to be the one that would trip the son of a bitch up. No, you can't. And I was going to say Def Leppard next, but guess who was in Def Leppard?
Def Leppard had Phil Collins.
Right. So I can't do that one. But... here's one that I think...
And he plays with Vivian Campbell, who was in Whitesnake.
I know. And then that covers Dio, and Dio was in Sabbath. And so do you see? Do you see what we're talking about? Dio, of course, took over from Ozzy in 1979, 1980. Right. But anyway, here's one that I don't know. We might have actually covered one of their members at this point, but let's find out. Saxon. Another new wave of British heavy metal band.
I don't know if I know any members of Saxon other than like the lead singer's name is Saxon. Right?
I got to tell you, I don't blame you because I don't think I know a goddamn one of them either. I've always been aware of Saxon.
I mean, Saxon was very close with Iron Maiden,
right?
In the new wave of British heavy metal. Is there a possibility that maybe somewhere along the line they played with like Dave Murray or Adrian Smith, maybe,
right?
But Saxon's a tough one because I don't know the names of the members.
I don't know that many people who, when you mention Saxon, they become like a fucking geek for Saxon.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you have people that are just that way for so many different bands. You got your Maidens and your Sabbaths and all that. I just don't run into people like that who are talking about Saxon the same way.
Well, now I'm going to Google Saxon and see what the names of their members were.
Okay, so Iron Maiden was my attempt to trip you up with a group that had a pretty steady lineup for all these years.
Right.
How about Queen?
Queen.
Can we do it with Queen? The bass player shifted around a lot, but I mean, really?
I mean...
by 71, they were locked into...
They were locked in. They had...
Yeah.
I mean, Brian May has played with people.
And if we needed to, I would accept that.
Well...
Brian May was on Bat Out of Hell 3 with such and such.
So I've done it.
Yeah.
It's done.
Go ahead.
Because Queen had Paul Rodgers singing with them for a while.
That's right.
And he was in The Firm with, and I don't remember the name of the guy, but he's the drummer. He played with AC/DC also.
Oh, God,
that bald guy.
Yeah, when they were having, not Phil Rudd.
No, not Phil Rudd, but he played like on the Thunderstruck.
Yeah.
The one with Thunderstruck, the Razor's Edge. He played on that album. I don't remember his name, but he's played... So he played in AC/DC. AC/DC had Axl Rose as their singer.
You're right.
So Axl Rose,
2016.
Axl Rose ties in with Slash. Slash has his own band. and I put it together at one point in time. Slash's band does tie in with Brent Fitz.
You're not talking about the Snake Pit. You mean the one?
No,
with,
I'm talking about the Conspirators with Miles Kennedy.
Yes.
Brent Fitz is the drummer.
Chris Slade is the AC/DC drummer that you're thinking about.
Chris Slade. Yep. And so Brent Fitz is the drummer for Slash's band. He also drummed for a band called Union with John Corabi.
Yeah.
Who's playing in the Dead Daisies with a bunch of Whitesnake members.
See, I was just going to say Brian May played on Bat Out of Hell 3 for Meatloaf.
He did.
John 5 was on that.
John 5
was in Motley Crue.
Yep.
John Corabi.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
And so was Steve Vai was in that.
I straight up didn't think we were going to be able to do it with Queen.
Yeah.
And then here you are thinking outside the box. Can you do it with The Who? We talked about The Who in the last
let's
segment.
See. I don't know who's played like on their solo stuff.
No pun intended. That's another one like Saxon that like, a lot. I don't know anybody that doesn't have respect for The Who, but I don't know any people who are just like Who heads or whatever. Is there a term for that?
I've never been a big Who fan.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to pay attention to like who's in that band.
I know that Horton hears them a lot.
Horton hears them a lot. Yeah,
and,
he's a big fan.
Yeah, so Saxon and The Who, we can kind of overlook those because
because
it's not like
because no pun intended. Who cares?
I was gonna say Warrant, but we've done Warrant.
We did Warrant. I pulled in Robbie Crane
because they came into into a couple of the other ones. What about Rat?
Rat's easy.
Okay, go.
Well, John Corabi played in Rat.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and Warren DeMartini played in Whitesnake.
Was that on the Infestation album that I'm thinking of, 2010-ish, 2008?
No, he never recorded with Rat.
Oh, okay.
He toured with them when they weren't recording, and like there were times like even Stephen Pearcy wasn't singing. They had I forgot his name now. No, but I mean we can go as easy as Warren DeMartini played in Whitesnake.
Oh, okay.
For a little while.
Well, damn.
In the early 90s.
How about a group that you might know a thing or two about? You've mentioned them to me before. I think you're familiar with a record or two of theirs, Bon Jovi.
You were going to come up with Bon Jovi.
What about you boys?
I knew you were going to come up with Bon Jovi, and when I was delivering mail the other day, I was doing it. And I got it.
Yeah, well then lay it on us.
All right, so, I mean, the only way I can go there is... there's a couple ways I can go there. I know Richie Sambora played with Orianthi.
Yeah.
Orianthi played with Michael Jackson. Mm-hmm. Michael Jackson had Slash.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Him. And Slash
that opens the door.
The door with Brent Fitz, and Brent Fitz played with.
Oh yeah.
But let's see. I think Phil X has something to do with that too. Now that Phil X is playing with Bon Jovi, I'm sure I can.
If you're just joining us, this is Paul from Connecticut doing 6 degrees of classic metal. He has taken Whitesnake, and I'm just throwing bands at him, and he is tying them to Whitesnake in hopefully 6 degrees or less with who played with who. And right now, he's given himself an extra assignment on Bon Jovi. He's already tied Bon Jovi to Whitesnake, but now he's challenged himself to come up with another lineage.
Okay.
So put these members together.
Let's see. Phil X. Oh.
Here we go.
I can go with it right now because coming up year, Triumph is reuniting. Mm-hmm. The original 3, but they've brought 3 more guys in. Phil X being one of them, and their extra drummer is going to be Brent Fitz.
Oh,
from Slash's band.
Yeah,
he's also going to be drumming with them, and Todd Kearns.
And so once you get the Slash,
so you get the Slash thing in there, and then you and onward we go. So Phil X is. In there.
Here's one that I think, you're either going to look at me and go, easy, I got this, or it's going to be one of those where you have to kind of go around your elbow to get to your ass. What about the guys from Dokken?
Dokken?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not seeing the immediate, he's not getting the light bulb immediately going off, but he is.
He
is. Okay, here we go.
Dokken had Reb Beach as their guitar player, and he plays in Whitesnake.
Okay, there you go. So one fucking degree.
There's just 1 degree.
That's all you need.
They had a Whitesnake member.
So I had Guns N' Roses on here. I think we're going to find Slash. We'll
They're
going to
find Slash in there, and Axl Rose and AC/DC.
Take us down a familiar path. Here's a band that has had some shifting and some shaking with the members, and we've had some new guys join and old guys leave. And what about Anthrax? How familiar are you with?
I'm pretty familiar with Anthrax. I think I can do this. I might be able to do this.
I'm a big fan of the John Bush years. That has
I like
nothing
the John
to do
Bush
with what we're
years.
doing, but
I
those
do
are
like
my
I do
favorite
like those John
fucking
Bush
albums.
I like the "We've Come for You All" album.
Yeah, We've Come for You All and Sound of White Noise are my two favorites.
For sure.
And, you know, Stomp 442 and Volume 8 are not. They're no slouch.
They have moments,
but they're just, man, those the first and last album they did with him are God damn
and
amazing.
they come up with all the best of them in the live album that they did with him.
I've got a version of "We've Come for You All" that has an acoustic Safe Home on it. We played it on the acoustic vibing episode, and it's just such a cool vibe.
That's my favorite song off that album too.
So,
all right, so
I'm distracting. I'm distracting.
No,
Paul.
you're distracting.
We gotta, or I'm buying you time. It could be.
Well, I mean, we did the Meatloaf aspect of it already, and Meatloaf's son-in-law is Scott Ian.
Oh wow, I forgot about that.
And he's played in a band with Pearl, Meatloaf's daughter.
Yeah.
And Pearl was a background singer for Meatloaf. And then we throw John Five in there, and John Five played with Meatloaf, and John Five's in Motley Crue, and Motley Crue had John Corabi.
Yeah.
And John Corabi
And so then familiar path that we've already.
But let's see, because I know their original drummer, I don't know if you knew this, their original drummer is Greg D'Angelo.
I did not know that.
And Greg D'Angelo played with White Lion.
Okay. It's
White
a different
Lion,
white band.
Right.
The 80s
I know.
white
we
band,
just
White
got to
Lion,
get White
Great
Lion
White.
over to. We got to make the lion into the snake. Jimmy DeGrasso was the drummer for a little while in White Lion after Greg D'Angelo parted ways with White Lion.
All right.
So Greg D'Angelo played in. Oh man.
The thing is, Paul is not one to give up. He's not going to just hit a brick wall and go, "I can't do this." I mean, he'll tell you if he doesn't know
It's there.
Saxon
I can see it. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
He's
there.
feeling it
Jimmy
right now.
DeGrasso was in Megadeth. Jimmy DeGrasso was in Y&T.
Because see, we're in a bad neighborhood. We're over in the thrash neighborhood, you know, and some sketchy things can happen in the thrash neighborhood. You know, you got to get back to safety. You got to go over.
Okay,
to,
let me go back
over to where
to
Whitesnake.
there was a moment in time that Greg D'Angelo from White Lion. Where did we start?
We started
With Anthrax.
Yeah.
Greg D'Angelo played in Anthrax. He also played in White Lion. He also played in Rat for a small amount of time.
and then that
With Warren DeMartini.
and that gives us our 1 degree right there. It's 2 degrees for him. So is that that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, you drop Paul off in the thrash neighborhood, and there's some sketchy shit going on over in Thrash Town, and he doesn't have a map, but he figures it out, man. He gets his bearings. He sees like a landmark in the distance that he knows, and it takes him
That's exactly
back
right.
to
Start working
safety.
backwards.
Takes him to Whitesnake. So we'll do a couple more, and then we'll come back and we'll have a little fun putting a super group together or two. But this is one of my all-time favorites. I got every goddamn CD, which probably takes up an entire one of these shelves, is the Scorpions.
Scorpions.
Actually, you know
We just
what?
did. I think we went through
we covered
Scorpions
that
when
because
you came up with UFO.
yeah, when you did UFO, you already did
We got the
Shanker.
James Kotek.
So we can't do Scorpions. We also can't do Dio because I was gonna say Dio, but you can't use Ronnie because then Ronnie played with everybody.
Right.
Under
Well,
the
we
sun.
got to go Dio to Whitesnake. We could do that. I mean, I think that's kind of
We'll
easy.
do that.
Let's see, Dio to Whitesnake.
And we're gonna hit
never
on
mind.
we're gonna hit on exactly the one.
Doug
that,
Aldridge.
Yeah.
played
Well, I was
with
gonna
Dio.
say Vivian Campbell.
And Vivian Campbell
Yeah,
played in
we've talked
Whitesnake
about
also.
Vivian Campbell. But so here's one that I think this will be a kind of a challenge. Then again, I say that, and you've surprised the fuck out of me before. We haven't had a lot of lineup shift in this one. We're back in the thrash neighborhood. What about Metallica?
All right.
Can it be done?
Can it be done?
And I looked at this one and thought, I don't know, man. This one might
They
be.
didn't do a lot of. They didn't go out of the box a lot. Those guys.
Because really, and there's one that you can use if you want to, but I'm gonna say ignore it. Can you do it while ignoring Dave Mustaine having been there in the early days?
I'll have to.
Yeah.
If otherwise, because you just opened the door.
Right, because we've talked
Jimmy
about the
DeGrasso,
Megadeth.
yeah.
Yes, we've talked about the Megadeth connection. So can we get from Metallica to Whitesnake without using Dave Mustaine? Can we find the little breadcrumb trail of members that will take us?
I wonder who played with Newstead.
From one band to
Because Newstead is the only wild card
that
there.
might
I
be
think.
your key. Yeah,
I don't think that Hetfield played with anybody else.
yeah.
They did get a bunch of people playing on that Garage Inc. album.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, they did like Tuesday's Gone.
They
and
did
had
Tuesday's
everybody
Gone
under
with
the
like a
sun.
ton of people, like
Yeah.
from Blues Traveler and all that kind of stuff. I can't remember who was on that song though.
We're looking at Voivod. We're looking at for Newstead. What's the other band that he's got?
Newstead did Flotsam and Jetsam.
Flotsam and Jetsam, Voivod, and there's one other that I can't remember the name of.
And I was just trying to think of like after he left, he had his bands.
Well, then you got Trujillo, who was in like Suicidal
Trio.
Tendencies and played with Ozzy. So I mean, now we're hey,
look at what you did. You opened the door for me right there.
What happened?
There it is. Trio. I forgot all about Trio.
Yeah.
He was in Ozzy's band with a bunch of guys.
And see,
And
once
you take Ozzy and then you got Rudy Sarzo.
Yeah.
And he was Whitesnake.
Yeah, once you hit Ozzy, Sabbath, or anybody who played with Richie Blackmore, then you're in the heat of the most incestuous of the groups.
You hit cruise control and you're on your way to Whitesnake.
So here we go. This is what I'm talking about. I saw Paul doing this. We were at Pub 67 just a couple months back, and I was like, we got to talk about this on the show. I need to just throw some bands at you and see like in real time how you can make these connections.
You know what? If I don't take up too much time here,
No, go ahead.
I heard I was listening to Sirius XM the other day, and there's a guy. There's like a DJ that actually does this, and I was like, "Who's this fucking guy?"
Well, what show was this?
But he does. It's on Hair Nation. And he does 6 Degrees of Nikki Sixx.
Oh, okay.
And he was able to take Jim Carrey.
Wow.
And attach him to Nikki Sixx.
Is this like on-screen appearances, bands you've played in, any of the above?
Like
or what is
who
it?
you're involved with. So he took Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was dating Jenny McCarthy.
Oh, okay. So
Jenny
basically
McCarthy
just like a social
was in,
pages
he said
kinda.
Jenny McCarthy's in Scream 3 with Pamela Anderson, which I don't remember her being in that
Right.
movie, and then Pamela Anderson, Tommy Lee to Nikki Sixx.
Damn,
I went. So
that's
I
a
said,
whole other
I wonder if
level.
I could do that, and I said, you know what? Let's see if I can take an actor. And I said, let me start with the obvious choice. The game is 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, so let me see if I can get Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
And I did it. I said Kevin Bacon was in the latest Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
With Eddie Murphy, who did a song with Michael Jackson, who had Slash as his guitar player, to Brent Fitz, to John Corabi, to Whitesnake. And I was like,
shit.
oh, I did it.
Did you know that I have a Kevin Bacon degree number of 2?
You do?
I do. I used to be the marketing director of a Fox TV station down south, and we made a Super Bowl commercial for our newscast one year that had a guy in it with me. I was in the commercial with some friends of mine, and we were doing like the Publishers Clearinghouse thing where you bring a big check to somebody and that kind of deal. So one of the extras in the commercial was a guy named Justin Whelan, who was in a movie called Death Sentence in 2007 with Kevin Bacon. So I have a Kevin Bacon number.
You are connected to Kevin Bacon.
I am 2 degrees away
from Kevin Bacon.
Anyway, you are still hanging out with us here on WNUT Talk. I am here with Paul from Connecticut. We've been talking about, the very important question of where heavy metal started. We solved it. We figured it out. So don't even
It's in the history. Just look it up in the history
don't
books.
Don't debate it anymore. This episode, just send this episode to anybody who asks you that question. We talked about 6 Degrees of Whitesnake. I would throw any band I could think of at this son of a bitch, and he would show me how the members would weave and interconnect until somebody played with somebody who played
and
with.
You helped me out with that last one.
And I had to step in, with my expertise and throw him a lifeline earlier.
Every once in a while.
He was over there just floundering and shit, and I had to throw him a goddamn. But what I thought we'd do before we get out of here today is why don't we put our ultimate classic metal or hard rock bands together. So any member that you want to take from any group that was active until about 75. I just figured the cutoff would be about 75. I'm not trying to get into the new wave of British heavy metal years. I'm not trying to get into the glam years. You're thinking about like the early 70s when you've got bands like Scorpions and obviously Sabbath and the Deep Purples and all these groups that are active at that time. And you've got a field of players. You want to take somebody from Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, whatever, Queen, that's fine. They're all on the table. They're all in play.
They're all in play because
and you can put this band together however you want. You want just a 3-piece? Do you want a triple guitar attack? Do you want a keyboardist in there? I told Paul he could do like the Doors and he could fire the bass player.
Fuck the Doors.
Yeah, he's not interested in doing that. So however you want to lay it out.
All right.
I'm going to put you up first, and I'm going to say, give us your.
You want my lineup? You want the whole lineup? Okay. I have some notes jotted down.
Here we go. So do I.
So my lead singer is Steven Tyler.
Okay.
All right. I was like, he's got to be. He's like my ultimate '70s singer.
From the time I was like 12 years old, I heard. I think it was Love in an Elevator, but honestly, I couldn't tell you it was something from Pump. I heard the Pump album for the first time.
Aerosmith album.
I loved Aerosmith. Like all my life, the early 70s, up through about Draw the Line, we start to get a little spotty.
Yeah, things got a little weird.
Love Aerosmith. So I got a lot of respect for that.
Yep.
And he has proven, Steven Tyler has proven since the Back to the Beginning concert that he still got it.
He can still do it.
It's 100%
he can still do it.
got
But
it.
they talk about how he can't do like a full tour. He can't, but I mean, the guy's like 75 or whatever.
Right.
So he's, he's got his age on him now. And he's had his health issues. They weren't even able to do that full.
I know.
Last show at Fenway, which would have been great because they had Extreme opening for them.
And a dark horse favorite, but if you haven't listened to, and I'm not talking to Paul, I'm talking to you listening right now, if you haven't listened to the album Done With Mirrors featuring Let the Music Do the Talking, Darkness, The Hop, some of these songs, check it out. That is one of the all-time great unknown
one of my
Aerosmith
favorite songs off that album is The Reason a Dog.
Yes, because he wags his tail
instead of his tongue.
So we got Tyler on vocals.
We got Tyler, and you know what? While we're still with Aerosmith, I did put Joe Perry as one of the guitar players.
All right, you'll see that I did kind of a similar thing, but
I was like, I tried not to repeat like band members. I wanted to take from different bands, but I was like, I can't.
Did you get Jimmy Crespo or Rick Dufay in there?
I didn't get Jimmy Crespo. No, that was 1982.
I know. I'm sorry.
That was too late.
I don't know if they were active
That was too
late. But anyway.
All right. So Joe Perry, and I went with the late great Ace Frehley.
Okay, yeah.
As my other guitar player. I don't know how well they would complement each other, but
you'll see what I did here was kind of similar. You've got two versatile players. You've got two who can either decide that one's going to play rhythm and let the other step to the front, or they can trade off. So that's a pretty decent.
So I went with that, and then on bass, Glenn Hughes. As great as his voice is, I've heard him play bass. Just play bass, and I'm like, wow, this guy's really good.
Deep Purple, also Black Sabbath.
Deep Purple, Black Sabbath. He's played. He was just recently in the Dead Daisies for a little while.
Yes, that's true.
And he played bass on there and sang. He played bass on a Joe Satriani album.
Yeah,
didn't even sing. So I said Glenn Hughes is the guy that I need for bass there. I took John Lord from Deep Purple and Whitesnake as the keyboard player.
Okay.
I thought he was really great.
You're putting together a very solid like classic rock, like just an era of almost like your Nazareths and that kind of like you're going for that kind of sound, like just dirty, good like classic rock and roll.
Grunge. Yeah, the only person that's not dirty here is he's just kind of sloppy is Ace Frehley, and that's only because
I would put him in dirty.
He's dirty, he's sloppy. He ends up he gets a weird sound because he won't take his bracelets off and they hit the strings while he's playing.
You have any wild cards going on? Are you going to put like a theremin player or a flautist in your group?
I didn't think of a theremin player, but you know what? I think Steven Tyler knows how to play the theremin.
So you've got an all around.
And he plays the shoes. On the. But my drummer I can't go with anyone. He was my first choice of any of these, and it was John Bonham.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think that drumming is just. I mean, he's just the kind of drummer that. If I were a drummer,
you think about the first thing you think about is when the levee breaks.
Has there
ever been a more thunderous drum line than that?
I mean, it's just you just feel it, And I just wish I was around to see him actually play.
Yeah. That song launched not just Zeppelin into the hearts of many, but the Beastie Boys into the hearts of many with that drum line at the beginning of Rhymin' and Stealin' from their debut album. So that's a drum line that's been sampled. Like it's a part of our DNA. We know Bonham's playing so well.
Right. It's just too thunderous. I mean, and I think that the other drummers that I listen to take it from him, like Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee is obviously a student of John Bonham. Oh, yeah. It's just the sound that comes off of his drums too.
Well, would you like to hear mine?
Yes, of course.
I put a little supergroup together. It's a little more classic metal based than yours, but I do have a nice hard rock contingent here. I've kind of got both camps represented pretty well, I think. Starting off with the vocals, I got Ronnie James Dio. Ronnie James Dio is versatile as hell. Yeah. He was obviously like, Elf was a very blues-based kind of band. Yeah. And I've always said I think his vocal style basically came directly from John Fogerty of CCR. He's like kind of the next iteration of that kind of vocal style, right? So I think he's obviously like a super good metal vocalist. He's also got that classic bluesy rock foundation. Yeah. So there's my vocalist. Rhythm guitar, I took Tony Iommi.
Tony. Okay.
I kind of did like you did, where you got Perry and Tyler. Yeah. Not Tyler Perry from Medea, but you got Tyler and Perry,
Not Tyler Perry
from
Perry
Aerosmith. And yeah, Ronnie James Dio was in Black Sabbath, but that wasn't like his band, right?
Right. He was the and he wasn't there very long.
Yeah. So you got Tony Iommi. You could say I took the vocalist and guitarist from Heaven and Hell. You could look at it that way.
You did. Yeah.
On lead guitar, I got Rudy Schenker.
Rudy Schenker.
Yeah, I went straight to Scorpions. Okay. I picked up somebody who, I mean, from 65 to today, he's just been an incredible and versatile lead guitarist.
Sure.
The guy can shred. The guy can, like I said, bluesy kind of. Him and Iommi have that in common with sort of their styles.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
For bass, now we're getting into the rhythm section. I had a couple that I looked at here, and I thought, I could get Roger Glover from Deep Purple.
Right.
But I passed Roger up and got Lemmy Kilmister.
Well, Lemmy was in the set. Was before 75?
Yes, because Hawkwind was active going back to like 71, 72. Okay. So Motorhead, I don't think debuted until about 75, 76, but Lemmy was already recording. Okay. And Lemmy has, when you listen to Hawkwind, I mean, you would think you're listening to like, they're like a kind of a hippie jam rock sort of sound, at times.
I think I noticed, I think I saw that one time. I watched the Lemmy documentary, and obviously,
but then they get heavier, and you can definitely see where the line kind of jumps from. He goes from what they would eventually become. Yeah, and so I mean, this is a guy who, when you listen to like Ace of Spades, it's almost punk rockish, right?
Yeah.
But then he's got songs like "Ain't No Nice Guy," after all, with Ozzy. Yeah. He's got a range of emotion to his playing. Yeah, and he can really lock in with so many different types of drummers, not just the Motorhead kind of groove. Before we get to drummers, why don't we talk about keyboards? I put one in this band. Okay, and I put Rick Wakeman from Yes.
Okay, I mean, yeah.
And Rick Wakeman, he Paul's over here like, no pun intended, yes.
Yes.
He's
go with him.
Not only been in Yes for like 137,000 years, right? But he played on everything from Bowie's Space Oddity. He played on Elton John's Madman Across the Water album. Okay, yeah. He was on T-Rex's Bang a Gong. And of course, he played with Ozzy and Black Sabbath. He did keyboards on albums and songs by all of these. So I mean, Rick Wakeman's been there and done it.
Yeah, I mean he's
for like 50 plus, almost 60 years.
So yeah, you went more technical keyboards. Yeah, and I went with this bluesy guy that likes to play the Hammond.
He's going to be the guy that can put some like Mr. Crowley kind of vibes into like when they get into their darker, heavier stuff. Right. And on drums, I didn't go heavy metal. I didn't go. Well, I kind of went prog if you think about it. I went with Roger Taylor from Queen. Okay, world class drummer, very versatile. Yeah, he's heavy. Yeah, he's got the syncopation. He can play minimalist style.
I was afraid you were going to go with Ringo Starr.
No, but I did have. Wouldn't that be a capper to this lineup?
I'm like, oh, you ruined it, man.
I looked at Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden.
Nico, yeah.
And I looked at Neil Peart from Rush, and I thought, Rush was a little too prog. I didn't quite want to go that prog with the other players I had, but I put, I had Rick Wakeman on keyboards for God's sake. So
you're not going to get some.
I've got some prog elements.
You got your prog in there.
I said, why don't I put Roger Taylor in, because he can do that. If you listen to the first couple of Queen albums,
for sure,
like they were they could have gone in that direction and been very happy.
They had they were very versatile. You go through any Queen album, no Queen album sounds the same, right? Because he had all different. They all had different ways. The only thing that ever sounded the same was I can pick out Brian May's guitar.
Yeah, and that speaks to that versatility, what you're talking about there. So I mean, I put together, I think, a group that straddles that hard rock and metal line. Right, they're heavy, they're atmospheric, they're maybe a little groovy. They're capable. They got power and speed.
They got power and speed, but they also have technical.
Yeah, they're not reliant on the speed. They can do that, but they can be melodic. Right. They can.
Whereas, like when I picked a drummer, I could have gone with someone more technical like Peart, but I went with a guy that would like make your molars come out of your teeth.
Yeah. That's why I got Lemmy. He's there for that reason.
Right.
But see, like they could go on tour with Dream Theater. They got players like Taylor and Wakeman and Shanker, so they could be on that tour.
Right.
Or they could give Candlemass a run for their money because they got Lemmy and Iommi, laying it down. So what the hell can't Dio do? I mean, God, he can hang with all these players.
He could just sing. He'll sing the phone book, and they'll just play behind him.
Now I'm mad that these groups can't happen. I'm mad I can't hear yours.
I know we picked a lot of dead guys, didn't we?
I'm mad I can't hear mine. Yeah, I know. But hey, that just speaks to how long heavy metal has been touching our lives and setting the soundtrack.
I think it's been over 50 years since Black Sabbath started, and we have determined that Black Sabbath is the beginning.
55, since 1970 or 69 if you go by the
69
recording date I gave you. But hey, we're just glad you decided to bang your head with WNUT Talk for a little bit today. Thank you so much for doing that. I want to tell you, hey, look, it's been an awesome 2025. Thank you for joining us for the ride. We've got a hell of a lot more WNUT Talk fun coming up in 2026, as well as the flagship show. We've got the Great Fashniz's After Dark for you, the Jazzman's WJAZ. 2026, we're going to keep delivering. That's what I'm saying. And if Paul from Connecticut wants to come and help us do that, you're more than welcome, homie.
Well, thank you.
So, just tune into WNUT Talk wherever you like to get your favorite podcasts, or listen on the Live 365 network at live365.com or the free Live 365 app. Just search WNUT and join us next time when the topic will be I Never Freaking Know. So let's find out together, and we'll do it then.